In this video, I wanted to share our firsthand experience with a use case that I think is super relevant for marketers because pretty much everyone's using AI now. We all know that, but not many people are actually sharing how. So that's what I wanted to do today. So let me give you some context. We had around 20 landing pages already on our website, but they weren't fully optimized for sales conversion. This is an example of one of those landing pages. So you can see it was also on an older version of our website. We were doing an update, so we decided to kind of refresh the landing page format and make it more optimized for search and for Google Ads. So here you can see the new template. You can see it's more sales focused. It has stronger calls to action and better SEO optimization. So now let me just head over to our team's prompt library. So we're actually making another video about this, so stay tuned to our channel about what we found in our best practices so far about sharing prompts across the team. So I'll go ahead and share the prompt that we're using for the landing pages. So I wanted to just make the point that when you're creating content at scale, I think it's really worth investing time upfront to create a really solid prompt. A lot of times we use AI for one-off tasks and kind of just wing it, but I think when you want consistent results in the same format, it's super important to be really thorough and really precise with your prompt if you're going to be using it over and over and over again. So when I'm creating prompts, I know there's a lot of prompt frameworks out there, but I think there's one pretty simple one that I like to keep in mind when I'm creating prompts. That's called the RISE framework, which stands for Role, Input, Steps, and Expectation. And I'll kind of walk you through this prompt and explain how we applied each part of that to this prompt. So first is role. In our case here, I've asked the AI to act as a skilled marketing copywriter at VeraContent. I've experimented with whether including a role really makes a difference in the results. And I think sometimes it might feel redundant, but overall it helps set the tone and context for the output. So I don't think it's a bad best practice. And I often combine not only the role, but also the goal. Like the goal for that role, I like to include as part of this part of the framework. So in this case, you're a skilled marketing copywriter at VeraContent, and your goal is to clearly communicate the value of our services, address client pain points, and encourage action. I think this keeps the AI focused on sales-oriented copywriting, which is what we want here. So the input section covers things that change every time. So in this case, it's the service title we're writing about, the SEO keywords we want to target, and any source content we might already have, which in this case we have a lot. And I think a lot of times in marketing, you might have a lot of source content on a similar topic that you would want to use to guide the AI. So I think using a lot of source content and giving as much information to the AI is really important for getting the results you want. And if you feed the AI existing materials you might have, like blog posts or old landing pages or any other content you might have that's on a similar topic, it'll be able to adopt your style, pick up important points that you want included, and it'll require a lot less editing afterwards. And like I said, I think most marketing teams have loads of existing content that can be repurposed. And I would point, I'm going to get to this again later, but it's true that the parts that are in yellow are really the only things that you need to update every time. So it is possible to save everything else as custom instructions in a project or as a custom GPT. And I'll talk a bit about that later. But for now, we're just assuming that this is, you want to have everything in the prompt itself and that you're doing it for the first time, basically. So some additional inputs here are like context and general guidelines. So I've put the target audience, more context about VeraContent. Of course, this could be saved in a custom instruction. Your tone and style guidelines, how to use source content. For me, this is an important part that I think a lot of times people don't think about, but I think telling the AI how to use the source content is a super important piece, because otherwise it might just ignore the content that you provide it or copy it verbatim, which might cause duplicate content issues. So we include instructions like integrate the source content whenever possible. If some details don't fit into the landing page sections, repurpose them into the FAQs so it knows exactly what to do. And this ensures the output is original, on brand, and structured the way that you want it. So that's being really clear about the steps that you wanted to follow. And then we get to the expectations, which for me is the part that clarifies exactly what the final output should look like. And this is where I think it's worth it to get super specific. For example, write 3 key benefits, each in 1 to 2 sentences, focused on client outcomes and how VeraContent enables them. And being really precise about this really helps ensure the generated content fits perfectly into the template and really minimizes editing afterwards. As you can see here, we've specified character limitations or specifications for each section, like ranges, so that it actually doesn't always do this perfectly, but giving it a range definitely gets it closer. And and being really specific about how you want it to structure the content in each section, how many sections there are, and all of that really impacts the final results. So now let's go ahead and put this into ChatGPT and see what it comes up with. So I went to our blog calendar, our blog and landing page content calendar to see what we had next on the schedule. And I'm going to try this with one that I haven't done yet, which is UGC video content creation, user-generated content. And then I'm going to check and see if we have any existing content on this. I found this blog post, how to maximize user-generated content on a global scale. So I'm going to copy paste this content into the prompt as the source material. And then I'm going to also include the title and SEO search term, which in this case, I'm going to just put them both the same, which is UGC video content, which we saw was the search term. And we want to go ahead and use that for the title. So we're going to copy paste this over into our prompt. And then we're going to put it all into one prompt and then put it into ChatGPT. I will just go ahead and start this as a standalone chat. I can even do it as a temporary chat so it doesn't take into account my history and theory, and see what it does just based on this prompt alone. Because of course, the more your AI gets to know you, the more it will reflect your brand voice and tone and everything, or your style. So here I put service title UGC video content creation, keywords as well. And the source content I copy pasted, which is a very long source content. Hopefully it recognizes the beginning and end of these quotation marks and then goes into all of the other specifications. So it's quite a long prompt. Let's see how it does. Okay. Title, UGC video creation that connects globally authentically. Short description. So let's see. We wanted it to match we wanted it to match our landing page format, which is this. So it did give us a title. It gave us a short phrase here. And then it says, talk to an expert on the CTA button, kept it the same, interestingly. Okay, then it says, we want like this how-to something kind of title here. It says, how to create authentic UGC videos at scale for global audiences, body text. UGC video creation is one of the most effective ways, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't really answer the how-to question, so we would definitely edit that a little bit, because what we try to do on our landing pages is kind of explain how they can do that briefly in this text. But then it does have the book a call button here. Then the main selling points, we've got 1, 2, 3 selling points. If we go here, we've got the 3 selling points, so it does exactly match the format. Then we've got what's included in VeraContent's SEO service. Let's see how it did with that. Here we go. What's included in VeraContent's UGC video content creation? We'd have to add the word service. It's missing that. Maybe we need to improve that in our instructions, but then it does have the 6 points here, which exactly matches the 6 points that we need here. Okay, then we have social proof. Why trust VeraContent with UGC video creation? So it actually made up a quote, which obviously we wouldn't use. We would use our real quotes. But the point here is that it did put in the copy here. So every time we want to customize that title, it's true that the quotes we always are adding manually. Then we have how it works. This stays the same. FAQs. Interesting thing, it does do a pretty good job, I think, at coming up with hypothetical FAQs based on the subject and the answers, and also like taking into account the background information on our company. I've definitely also noticed that even when I do this as a totally new chat that's like not, that's like separate from my history, that it does still get information about VeraContent from the web. So it tends to answer fairly accurately. Of course, the FAQs are very important to edit, but it does at least help us like give us some ideas and a starting point that we can work with. So for example, it says, like can you help us source creators? Yes, we find and brief creators who naturally align with your brand values no matter the region or language. I wouldn't put it exactly like that, but it's not wrong either. So these are, and I think it's like a question, like we had prompted it here to say, come up with questions that, based on the topic of this landing page that a client might ask us, and it actually does do a pretty good job of that, and it helps us think of what questions we should include, and then we kind of rewrite the answers. So as you can see, it's a really good starting point for the landing page. It saves our team a lot of time, and all we need to do is do a final edit of this text. So it's a really useful tool for our team. And when we use a prompt that is this structured, you can see that the AI output is much closer to our style. The copy is aligned with our sales goals, and we save a ton of time. So, but really importantly, we still review and edit everything. And sometimes AI throws in odd phrasing or irrelevant details. So of course, human oversight is essential here. And to kind of explain how it works in our workflow, once we get the draft from ChatGPT, we move it into Google Docs, and our team reviews and leaves comments. And after revisions, we then publish it in WordPress. That said, if you are doing things on a really large scale, you could automate this even further, like use bulk uploading via spreadsheets and integrate with your CMS. And do some automatic uploads. Of course, if you did that, you'd want to have people doing a final edit inside your CMS, or set up the workflow that makes the most sense for your team. And I also wanted to make another important point, that this same process works really well in different languages as well. You can instruct AI to adapt content to regional variations, like Spanish for Spain versus Latin America. You just need to be really clear in your prompt about the language target and the region you're addressing. And it's really important to always have a native speaking editor review the final content to make sure, especially if it's a language that you don't speak yourself, and if it is marketing content, you want to make sure that it really hits the mark in terms of your messaging. So it's especially important to get that local review. And one more tip, if you are using a prompt like this regularly and you want to share it with your team, you can consider creating a custom GPT. It's really easy to set up. And if you do that, you can basically save the entire prompt and your team would only need to input the inputs. So for example, here, it basically prompts me for what information it needs to be able to go forward with the prompt. So as you can see, it's asking me for the service title, the SEO keywords, and the source content, because I've already previously uploaded all of the rest of the specifications for this from the prompt that we showed you before. So if I just give it that information that it's asked for example, it'll go ahead and create the content just with that information. And this is really great if you are working with multiple people and want to share a prompt easily. If you're on a team plan, you can share your custom GPT with others. Like, you can share it only with others in your organization. If you don't have a team plan, you can share it publicly. But if you are on a team plan, you can share it privately. And if you're working on your own, there's also another option, which is using, over here you can see you have projects. And I also created a sample here of VeraContent landing pages. And here you have all the instructions and the project file. So you can similarly just put in the specific specifications without having to repeat all that stuff. But projects as of today are only for individual users. You can't share with other people on your team. You can share the chat. Like, once you've started a chat, you can share that chat and they can see the results of the chat. But they can't have access to your actual project file with everything uploaded to it. So that's why custom GPTs are definitely the best option for working with teams. So that sums up how we're using AI to scale landing page content creation at VeraContent. You can see we've used structured prompts, we're using source content for consistency, and we're using custom GPTs to share across our team. I hope this was helpful. Let me know in the comments how you're using AI in your marketing workflows, or if you'd like to see more tutorials like this one. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for future videos from VeraContent. Thanks for watching, and if you're looking for more tips on AI, definitely check out our next video.